Hello soulmates, welcome back to my channel. In this video we'll be cutting and sewing this reversible top. If you haven't watched the previous video on how we'll draft this top, please do so and watch it. Let's get right into today's video. Hi everyone, please pay attention to the details of making this top. Let's begin by cutting it to give the hip a better shape. Next is to place the pattern on the fabric unfold. Cut the lining first. Add the seam allowance directly on the fabric to reduce the paper usage. And remember that we added seam allowance on the sides on the pattern. So add the allowance for the shoulder, the armhole and the leg seam as you can see. After adding the allowance, you cut it off. For the back pattern, add seam allowance as done for the front pattern and cut it. Repeat the same process for the main fabric. So after cutting the main fabric, we'll have to trace out our darts. So let's trace our dart with a tracing wheel. It may be faintly visible, but to me I can see mine. You can use your chalk to make it visible for you if you can't see it. So let's close our side dart. To close it, we'll trace it out as shown and use your tailor's chalk for more visibility. Do that on all the pieces so as to avoid mistakes. So after tracing out with chalk, you open the dart in the middle as shown and you mark 0.5 inch inside as shown so that you'll be able to pick your dart on the machine. Watch as I do it. You can either do this or after opening the dart, you can measure what you have on both sides and pick same thing on your machine if that will be easy for you. So let's go to the machine. Sew in the dart as demonstrated. Make sure you sew in exactly what you measured. It is very important. It will help your perfect fitting. Don't make a mistake. Make sure you sew in that. After sewing, this is what it will look like. So make sure you iron for a crisp finish. And the same thing you do on your lining, that's the same you do on your main fabric as well. So after sewing and ironing, this is what it will look like. It will be very neat. And you sew in the zip allowance as shown, both on the lining and on the main fabric. If you sew your zipper allowance, please make sure that you sew it in with a very loose stitch because you would have to lose it back. We only need this for the crisp line after ironing because it will we'll use it for our zip guidance when we are using it to sew. I hope you understand that. So you have to lose this after ironing. So now that we have loosed it, this is what it looks like. So let's fix our zipper. Before fixing the zip, sew the lining and the fabric as demonstrated. Then pin the zip properly. Pin it to the fabric, sew it closely to the zip along the crisp line created. After sewing, it will look like this, very close to the zip as you can see. To sew the other part, position it correctly and pin the zipper securely before sewing, following the same step you used for the first part. Remember to sew closely to the zip and on the crisp line. It is important. After sewing, it will look like this. You can see it is very close to the fabric. Open the zip to ensure that you didn't sew on it and trim the excess. The next thing is to sew the neck. Make sure the lining and the fabric are facing each other, right side facing right side as shown in the video. After sewing the neck, this is how it will look like. You see, right side facing right side. So now let's use the lining to cover the zipper so that you won't see the seams of the zip. So to align the lining and the fabric on the zipper allowance, pin them properly with right side facing right side and stitch it. So the stitch will be close to the initial stitches that you use for the zipper or on this stitch. So after you are done with this part, you do the second one too, and it will look exactly like this. You can see this is coming out well. So the next thing we'll do is to work on the front bodice. We'll sew the lining and the fabric on the hip side. Don't forget to use 0.5 or any allowance you use, you mark out on your pattern. So next thing is to sew the neck of the front, aligning them right side facing right side. Don't forget, use 0.5 inch. How I taught you how to sew your curve, this is the most important part. Your curve must be perfect so that it will not gape, and you have to notch it closely to the seam. Now to join the shoulder, place the front bodice and the back bodice facing each other for an inseam shoulder like this. Place it right side facing right side and start sewing from the middle. You start sewing from the shoulder hem. Then let's sew the sleeve by starting from the bottom part. Remember that we added seam allowance on our pattern, but when you are cutting the lining, make sure you didn't add seam allowance. Follow the procedure to create a perfect inseam sleeve. This is the inseam sleeve we want to create. So to create this, you place the fabric right side facing right side. Anytime you are sewing, make sure your fabric and your lining they are placed right side facing right side. Always use your pin it in place and sew it with 0.5 seam allowance. Remember, you are joining from your shoulder line, and your sleeve you join it from that notched area. You divide your sleeve into two and you notch that part. That's where you are joining it from. So after that, you repeat the same process on your lining. The lining for the sleeve will be joined with the lining of the bodice, and you sew with 0.5. It is important. So after completing this process, this is how it will look like. See how neat it's looking? So let's iron. We'll iron everything so that it will be in place and it will shape the body. So to shape the body, you measure from the chest line. That's like the armpit here. So you measure. For me, my bust is 34, divided by 2 it is 17. You measure 17, and anything left will be divided into 2. I hope you understand. Here I have 19 inches. So I'll divide it into 2. That means I'll take 1 inch from the right side of my bodice and 1 inch from the left side of my bodice. You do that, you measure your under bust, you measure your waist, and you measure your hip. So like that, and you will sew on your machine. You sew your fabric alone first, then your lining next. And please make sure you connect your body shaping with your curve rule. It is very necessary. So because I'm used to my clothes and I know the kind of allowance I'm to take on my fabric, that's why I do this. Make sure you connect it with your curve rule. Pick your body shaping from the sleeve. You divide your sleeve circumference divided by 2, and you pick it from there down to your chest line, to your under bust, and to your waist. And you sew your fabric first, then you sew your lining after. You sew them separately. As you can see here, I've sewn my fabric and this is my lining that I'm sewing, and that's how you do yours too. After doing that, this is what it will look like. You can see how perfectly this turned out. As a beginner, always aim for flawless and tidy finish. Even if it takes time to complete a garment, prioritize finishing touches because it's one of the things that sets you apart from other designers. Believe there's nothing you can achieve if you are determined. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, share this video for other designers to see. Until next time, bye.